All right, it's day 2 of our Disney extravaganza. We conquered the sea, and now we must conquer the land. We got to get in early, which is very nice. Paradoxically, it means we could leave a lot later. We were only heading out of the hotel at 7:43. This is one of the perks of staying at a Disney hotel. You get through the main gates about 15 minutes early. So that meant that we did not have to have the multi-hour waiting for the park to open grind that we had at Disney Sea. Here we can see the front gates. I just love the kind of like font and imagery they use for Disneyland in Tokyo. It just feels so like retro future. Here we are heading into the main kind of first zone. Right now, Tokyo Disneyland was experiencing total Donald Duck takeover. They had this kind of event layout, promotional whatever thing, where Donald Duck was like now the mayor of the Disneyland city, taking over for presumably Mickey. So there was all sorts of Donald themed stuff. I think it was called like Donald's Quack City or something. I really liked it. I mentioned this in the previous video, but I'm a Donald fan. I love all the ducks and the duck adventures and the duck comics and stuff like that. So I was excited to see so much Donald stuff. Yeah, it's Donald's Quacky Duck City. Very good. And here we are, being welcomed into the main area of the park. So I said before, typically the strategy is to get in as soon as possible and then make a beeline for the most popular ride that you're interested in. And we didn't actually have a ride in Tokyo Disneyland that just stood above all others in the way that Soarin' did. So we decided to just kind of plunge in and go where we went, and because we got in early, we felt like kind of anything we went after, we'd probably get to see relatively quickly at least. But yeah, we decided to kind of eschew such formal planning and objectives and just experience the park. We also knew we had a dinner reservation. We had booked a table at one of the more fancy sit-down restaurants at 7 p.m. So we had a whole lot of time to kill. We didn't really feel like we were going to be rushed by any stretch. So we just started to explore the park at our leisure. This is a really cool kind of covered shopping arcade. It feels, again, very kind of Art Deco-y. That era of extravagance and luxury, all these storefronts, again, the Donald statue. And this is kind of the main drag into the park. The storefronts had all these very fun little dioramas of, you know, Mickey and Minnie and Pluto doing tailoring and coming up with all sorts of fun little Disney products, I think most of which they do actually sell somewhere in the park. I don't know. I'm sure these, like, you know, little Mickey pens and stuff are all real. All this stuff is in English. I don't know if it's just because these are, like, copies and transplants from one of the Western Disney parks or what, or if it just sort of adds to the aesthetic in Japanese people's minds. Here are Huey, Dewey, and Louie, some more of my beloved ducks. Again, Carl Barks' invention, I'm pretty sure, the nephews, and the junior woodchucks and stuff. We decided to head for Tomorrowland, which in the Florida Disney World is, I don't know, I think it's my favorite area. I think it's definitely up there for my mom as well. Again, just this sort of retro future vibe I really, really enjoy. And it has some of the most kind of charming rides in it, like the Carousel of Progress or the People Mover. Neither of which, unfortunately, are at Tokyo Disneyland. But they had a lot of fun stuff, and we decided, let's go on Star Tours, because there was zero line, it just opened, it's not the most popular ride, but it's one that I can remember from when I was a very little kid, the first time I went to Disneyland in Florida, Disney World. It got taken out, I think, by the time we went again, or maybe I saw it one more time, but it hasn't been around in Florida for quite a while, and I missed it. I was looking forward to it. See all the Star Wars stuff. It's neat because it's like classic Star Wars. This is a ride that was built before The Phantom Menace. And it's something that I think really captures a lot of the really original Star Wars charm from the original trilogy that I haven't really felt with any of the subsequent releases. All sorts of fun decor as you're moving. There was no line at all, so we just kind of saw this stuff in passing. I was taking videos of the little droids and stuff. And the way this one works is it's a total motion simulator. So even simpler than Soarin', you just go into this little pod, and it plays a video while the thing, you know, shakes and rumbles and stuff in sync with what you're seeing on the video. Very simple concept. I love this promotional video, or not promotional video, safety video that of course is like in-universe, all these actors dressed up in Star Wars stuff telling you what to do. The conceit is that you are on Star Tours, which is like a tourist thing within the world of Star Wars that's supposed to be a nice, pleasant journey. But of course, the Empire attacks. There's a very fun thing where it says, oh, we're looking for a rebel spy. And then it shows a photo of someone in the audience, usually a little kid that they just surreptitiously took a photo of. It's like, oh my gosh, it's me! I think when I was a little kid, they showed my photo, but maybe that's like a false memory. And yeah, you have to escape the Empire and fly through all these dizzying space battles and swoop around alien planets. Just even, you know, just this little safety video that's like 30 seconds long. They put so much effort into it with all these costumes and stuff. It's really great. This is after the ride, I think. This hallway with the cool lighting effects. You know, just every single hallway, every little thing is so detailed. Is full of so much stuff. But yeah, really fun ride. Like I said, it has that old Star Wars charm before really any extraneous elements got added. I don't know. I think it really holds up. I had a great time. I'm glad we took the plunge on this as our first ride and got to hop on it with no wait. We weren't quite the first riders of the day, but we were up there. I wish they hadn't gotten rid of it. Now there's like a whole Star Wars land, but I watched the Jenny Nicholson video on it, and it doesn't seem that great. Whereas this old Star Wars ride, I think, really holds up and was a blast. This is our view having exited Star Tours, kind of looking down into the world of Tomorrowland. This is Space Mountain, which was our next goal destination. One of the more major rides in the park, a very famous ride. I gotta sneeze. Whew. That has existed in various Disney parks since like the 70s. I have a very key core memory of being on Space Mountain the first time I went to Disneyland. Oh my gosh. I thought I was going to sneeze again. When I was a very little kid, I think I was like 4 or 5, and just being like terrified. Because Space Mountain is, I think, legit pretty scary. You're going pretty fast for a Disney roller coaster. There's like drops and stuff. It's not the most extreme drops. But it's because you're in total darkness, and it's just like lights whizzing by, and you have no idea when it's going to swerve. You have no idea when it's going to drop, because it's just so dark. This dizzying, almost psychedelic event where you're just rushing through space. It's crazy. I have actually a couple of very strong memories with Space Mountain. First was riding on it as a little kid and just like genuinely feeling like I was going to die. And then another time we were riding on it and there was a malfunction. And this sort of thing is very rare at Disney World. Like, we've gone, as I said, probably 4 times throughout my life, and then now Tokyo Disneyland. And this is the only time I can remember the ride really screwing up. There's been times where, you know, it like stops for some reason, you have to wait a bit, but that's whatever. What happened this time is the lights went on. And you could see suddenly the whole actual roller coaster, which is normally clad in total darkness. You could actually see how it all connects, and it looked so simple, but it was so eerie, so otherworldly to see behind the scenes like that. And we actually had, in a weird way, a similar experience with Space Mountain that I think will now go forward as another core memory associated with this ride. Before that, though, we checked out some stores around there. There's a lot of Toy Story alien themes. These are very, very popular characters. Gotta love them. I love this about Disney parks is they can take like a theme like space or aliens and kind of pluck it out of multiple different movies that touch on those themes and kind of weave them together into this sort of mashup experience. I think is neat. Like here is all the Toy Story aliens, but then there's other sections that are really themed around Baymax from Big Hero 6, which I couldn't remember the name of, and I think I called it like Big Robot 5. But yeah, also in the distance here you can see Frozen Land, which was not open yet. I think it's actually going to be a part of Disney Sea, but it was opening very soon. It was opening like a month away, so it's like definitely already completely done. It was kind of neat to see little glimpses of it and stuff, but I'm sure that's going to go over really well. Frozen is huge in Japan, maybe even more than it was in North America. Another shot of that. It looks really neat, huh? I think this is like a big matte painting to be used as like a trick background, right? But it does have a nice feeling of depth. Like you can tell it's a painting, but because the painting is so huge and so far away, it has a nice kind of illusionary feel. It does feel like there's a whole world out there. There's Baymax. Oh yeah, so I saw this duck. I was taking a little video of it. It was eating some popcorn.
Bro, character appearance. It's Donald Duck.
Stupid joke. So we decided to get some food pretty early on. It wasn't even 10 a.m. But we hadn't eaten anything yet, and we figured we got to get something in our systems for this long day ahead. So we went to a Baymax-themed restaurant. I got this Baymax burger, some fries. My mom got nuggies. Oh, my mom also got this. I think she took a better picture of it later, but all throughout Tokyo Disneyland, they sell these themed popcorn buckets. And a lot of them are really cool and elaborate with like moving parts and pop-outs and light-ups and everything else. You can like pick out your favorite from your favorite theme, and then you get a discount if you go to any other popcorn stand. They'll fill up your bucket for like a cheaper price. So it's a pretty smart system. You know, the bucket itself was pretty expensive, unsurprisingly, but the hope is that it kind of pays for itself in popcorn. So my mom got a It's a Small World themed one. I hope there's a better picture of it. It's really cute. It's really neat. I was like humming and hawing about if I wanted to get one and which one I would get. I really wish I had gotten one now. There was quite a few that I really liked the design of, but I didn't end up choosing or pulling the trigger. But I gotta say, this also really up-levels the waiting in line experience. Even though you're there for like an hour or whatever, if you can just munch away at the popcorn, not that bad. This was the burger. It had like an egg and bacon. It went pretty hard, I'm not gonna lie. And I like that it has Baymax's face on it. Yeah, so then, I had seen these ducks before. They're like really aggro. I think the tourists have fed them too much, which is no good. I don't know if this is common knowledge. I feel like it's not common enough. Don't feed wild animals. I don't care how cute it is. I don't care how much they want it. I don't care how much you feel like a saint for giving them a little treat. It encourages really bad behavior, like this duck that did not leave us alone. It's like biting my mom. This is cute. Mickey-shaped chicken nuggie. Here we go. So yeah, it's like kind of the famous front of the It's a Small World ride. And then this thing opens up and spins around, and this thing spins around, and I don't know, it's really sweet. We're big It's a Small World fans. You know, I'm gonna get to that ride soon enough. But it was really lovely. I was sending pictures to my boyfriend saying, look, I'm gonna eat Baymax. And he was going, no, don't eat Baymax. I was like, nah, that dude's dead. These were cute. In true Japanese fashion, there was a lot of vending machines all over the place. But they were way worse than any vending machine you would ever see outside of the park. Which is kind of a shame, because it's like, you need to drink. If it's hot out, you need to stay hydrated. This is not like an optional luxury purchase. You need to consume fluids. And yeah, there's drinking fountains, but obviously it's very convenient to get a bottle of something. So it would be nice if they just had a reasonably priced, big selection vending machine like there are every 50 feet everywhere else in Tokyo. But no, here they have a selection of four things, and they're all really expensive. And it's like, bleh. And all the theming in the world can't save that disappointment. But whatever, the theming is still cute. So yeah, then we decided to line up for Space Mountain. We actually tried this other fast pass system. So there's the paid fast passes where you pay like, I think 2,000 yen or something, and it gives you a time and you show up and you can skip at least a big chunk of the ride. But we also could get this like 40th anniversary bonus fast pass, where I think you only get like one per day. So we decided to choose Space Mountain for that as soon as we got in. So it was about time. I think we had like a 10 a.m. slot. So you can show up anywhere between like 10 and 10:30 or something. You get to skip a chunk of the line, which is good. The line was huge. So we get in line. And then one of the cast members, the Disney staff, comes up to us and says in Japanese, "Have you ridden Space Mountain before?" Saying it to me. And I said, "Oh, only when I was a kid," in Japanese to her. So then she starts speaking in Japanese. Moto hai sugeru. Too fast. Too fast for me to understand. I had no idea what she was saying, but she gestured, "Okay, follow me, follow me." And now I thought, ooh, boy. So Disney, this is another really cool thing that probably is getting phased out now because it doesn't cost, or it doesn't get them extra money. It doesn't cost the tourist any money. But they used to have all sorts of little surprise VIP things within Disney World. Me and my mom only really experienced this once. One time when we were lining up for Soarin' way back at Disney World, we were told, "Hey, guess what? You're on the special lucky flight of Soarin'. Take this super fast pass." And it was basically like this little lanyard that had little clips that you could pop off of it, and it lets you skip the line once for every ride in the park. And it was just a totally random thing that maybe they just do this once a day for different rides. Just give a chunk of people this thing. Doesn't cost them anything, but it doesn't make them any money either. And you have a brilliant time. It makes the day so special. You'll remember that probably every time you think about the park. It's just this wonderful little positive memory. I don't know. Maybe they still do things like this. I've heard stories of other stuff they used to do where you'd get swept away on this special exclusive tour and get to see behind the scenes. Oh, another one that we actually did have is sometimes they just let you ride the ride twice. At Disney World, we went on the Everest ride, which at the time was new and a really big deal. And we used various strats that I won't explain in depth to be the first one on the rides. And then after we did a loop, they said, "You want to go on again?" And we were like, "Yeah." And they were like, "Okay, stay on." And we got to do another loop. Like, just little things like that are so much fun. So I thought that's what was happening. I thought we lucked out and we were going to get super VIP treatment. So we followed this cast member through all these back doors and alleyways and staff-only areas. And I was like, ooh, this is pretty cool. It's very eerie how suddenly the decor stops and how used to this super decorated, immaculate fantasy world you get used to. And then suddenly it just becomes super functional, super basic, industrial back rooms and areas, which has kind of its own charm and appeal, like just suddenly being in this other half of the world. So yeah, we get taken through all this stuff. I still don't know what's going on. She's still kind of like chatting with us in Japanese. and I don't know what she's saying. And then we get taken to this area where there's just a car by itself on some tracks. And you can see here this, like, not really themed, all this yellow safety stuff. We're out of the tourist zone, to be sure. And I said, "Oh, sashin da ii desu ka?" I said, "Photo op desu ka?" Is this like a photo op? Because she asked us to get in. And see here, you can see, and it looked like it kind of connected to the main tracks in like a way I didn't totally understand. But I think this is like a maintenance area where they can take the cars out of circulation and fix them up and stuff. So I thought, still, this is some crazy VIP experience, and we're gonna get on and then be on the car before everybody else gets on or something. Anyways, no. What this was is to see if I would fit. Because I'm big, right? I'm about 6'6", and I weigh pounds. I'm very large in every direction. And that's why I got spotted in the line. That's why they asked, have I rode this before? And then probably everything else she was saying was explaining to me, hey, you have to get in this example cart. If you don't fit, you won't be able to ride. Blah, 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 blah. And that's what was happening here. But we still did kind of get a VIP treatment, because after we confirmed that I did fit, barely, giddy safe, she took us right to the front of the line, and we were able to get on like the next cart. So that was cool. So we did Space Mountain. Space Mountain remains very, very awesome. Still quite terrifying. Behind me, a kid was shouting, "Tasukete! Yamate kudasai!" I don't know, stuff like that. Help me, stop. He was freaking out. And then at the end, I was like, "Oh, daijoubu desu ka? Are you okay?" And he went, "Oh, hi. Daijoubu." I went, "Oh, tanoshii desu ka?" He's, "Oh, hi." It's like exhausting almost, because I think more than almost any other Disney ride, it's like, I think because it's so old too, it's not like comfy. Like you really, and probably me more so because I weigh so much, you really feel like whipped around and like jostled and knocked back all over the place. But it adds to it. It adds to the exhilaration of it. So yeah, that was our Space Mountain adventure. And then apparently this was like the last year that Space Mountain was going to be running in this form. And then they were going to redo it. Like I said, it's a very old ride, and it has aspects that feel a little a little out of date compared to other Disney rides in terms of like this jerkiness. And although the space theming is very cool and effective, it's certainly a lot less like detailed than other Disney rides. Like there's just less stuff to look at. So I imagine it's going to be revamped and modernized and stuff, and that's going to open in 2027. So that's pretty neat. They're always kind of reminding you that the park is growing and evolving, and you should make plans to come back. Here, there was a band playing. I actually went with my high school band to Disney World. We were only there for a few days, and one of those days we were just kind of performing all day. But it was still a very fun trip, and it was fun to go to Disneyland with my friends. It's because our band was so freaking good. I think. I don't remember why we went, but we did have a good band. Like, our band would win, like, local competitions and stuff. And then I think I was just trying to take a picture of this band, which is not a student band, but, like, a pro band. And then I didn't even notice this, like, Army Man guy here, but that's, like, a Toy Story Army Man, I guess. Anyways, Tomorrowland. Then we started heading for... This is... yeah, so we walked past this at first. This was the new Beauty and the Beast ride, which was by far the most in-demand, longest line, most buzzed up, hyped up ride at Tokyo Disneyland. And at first we were like, I don't know, is that worth going on? It wasn't a priority for us, you know. We have our favorites that we definitely wanted to see. We didn't know, was it worth spending a bunch of time on this ride that we don't really know anything about? But we walked past it, we checked it out. My mom was always looking for these pins. For a while, this was like a big deal in Disney World, at least. It seems like the sort of thing that would catch on pretty huge in Japan as well. I'm not sure if it was getting phased out or we just didn't really know where to look. Anyways, what it is they sell all these different pins, and a lot of them are like location exclusive. Like here, these are Tokyo Disneyland ones. And they often come in little sets like this because what they always encouraged you to do was meet up with people and trade pins. Maybe the reason this got phased out is because they don't want people to meet up. Maybe it's because this wasn't making them any additional money to have pin trading happening. Instead, they just want to sell you more stuff directly. Oh, I'm becoming so cynical. At any rate, it was kind of neat that there was this whole Disney pin culture, and it was just kind of another way to enjoy the parks and, you know, ultimately spend money and have a little community or whatever. So my mom was looking for pins. She never got into like the trading thing. We never went to meetups, but she liked collecting them. She had a few that she brought out to put on her bag as we went through, which was very nice and nostalgic. So we were just looking at what pins were on offer, and there just wasn't many. Like, we just barely saw them for sale, which makes me think this whole thing is kind of getting phased out. But they're neat. They're well made. Here's another shot of the Beauty and the Beast castle. Then there was this kind of old world town, which sort of incorporates like Beauty and the Beast vibes, Snow White vibes, stuff like that. I really like this sort of setting. It's very cozy. It feels like you're on the verge of adventure. This is a photo I took by accident. This was a really lovely looking Winnie the Pooh ride. We didn't end up going on it because it's definitely like for little kids. And it's very possible that I wouldn't have fit. As I mentioned before, I barely fit in Space Mountain. And you'll see later there's some more misadventures around me not fitting into rides, which is unfortunate. So the kiddie rides were definitely the ones where I was in most jeopardy for not fitting. So for that and, you know, other reasons, we just didn't seek them out. But I love Winnie the Pooh. I actually rewatched the Winnie the Pooh movie with my boyfriend yesterday. It's like one of his favorite just kind of comfort movies from childhood, and one of my favorite too. And I was crying by the end. The ending is just so sweet and sentimental, and I'm gonna cry just thinking about it. But yeah, I love the imagery of Winnie the Pooh, that it's all in this big book, and that it's like half fiction and half, you know, metafiction kind of, and I don't know, it's so lovely. This was the Winnie the Pooh toy store. We checked this out. You know, I kind of wanted to get my boyfriend Winnie the Pooh souvenir because I knew he was a big fan of the franchise and stuff, and I was too. But it's like, this is the other thing about merch at Disney World, right? Some of it says, like, Disney World, but outside of that, it's, like, the same merch you could get at any Disney store. It's the same merch I would get at, like, a toy store in Toronto, right? You know, it's a Winnie the Pooh plushie. And that's cute, and that's great, and we love Winnie, but it's like, why would I buy it here when it's way more expensive and I have to carry it around all day at the park when I could buy it like anywhere and it's the same plushie? And, you know, the real reason there's sales like this is because it's little kids or other people of similar lack of patience who want it right now. And that's basically how most of these sales happen. Otherwise, it's like kind of hard to find the logic of buying a big plushie when you could just get it anywhere. Now, granted, they do solve the problem of having to carry it around. You can have it put at like a pickup location near the entrance to the park, or have it sent to your hotel if you're staying at a Disney hotel, or just have it mailed back to you wherever you live. So that's nice. You know, they do offer a solution there to facilitate that kind of thing. So I don't know, maybe more people buy merch than I think, but to me it's just kind of strange. And here it is, it's a small world. If you don't know It's a Small World, it's like one of the most polarizing Disney rides. Some people, it's an all-time classic, and it's just this wonderful, emotional journey around the world, which reminds us of the interconnectedness of all humanity and the rich diversity that it brings, and is just so sweet and beautiful and sentimental. And then for other people, they find the song really annoying, and they think it's just the stupidest, smarmiest thing ever. My aunt went to Disney World, I think around when she first got married, and they got stuck on It's a Small World for like an hour and just had to hear the song over and over again. And now she never even wants to hear a word of it, or else this trauma will flare up, which is understandable. It would be a lot. But for me and my mom, we are very firmly in category A, if that wasn't obvious. So this was very, very high on our list of rides we wanted to see. There wasn't a whole lot of line as reported on the app, so we were kind of making our way over here very deliberately to hop on this one next. You can see again all the aesthetics of my mom's popcorn box, which is fun. Here we are. Oh wait, did we do this first? Maybe we did this first because this had way less ride, or way less line. Yeah, I think we did this first because this was like basically 0 line right now. This was a Pinocchio ride, which was a little kind of kiddie, but we thought it would be fun. It's your typical kind of dark ride, as I said before, where you're taken from big diorama to big diorama in a way that kind of obscures all but one thing at a time. And it's very typical of a lot of Disney rides in that you're just going through the movie and seeing all the scenes of the movie, which I think is a lot of fun. And it obviously, you know, it's a great movie. The Pinocchio movie is phenomenal. If you haven't seen it, it's a great piece of animation, a really riveting adventure, and a sweet little moral tale at the heart of it. I've been thinking about it again because, as I said, we've been playing Kingdom Hearts. There's some good Pinocchio action. So yeah, you get on these little cars and you drive around, and that was that. That was fun. Little flower booth thing. I think this was a popcorn stall over here, or some other little snack thing. This is kind of a sneak peek of the ride. There's a nice little mix of dioramas with like matte painting backgrounds. Good kind of illusion. This is heading into It's a Small World. They have all these nice stylized posters of different places around the world. There's Canada, of course, where we're from. Exciting to see. This is the main waiting area, line area for getting on the boats. So this is kind of, you know, how it is. There's all these models and animations, things singing and dancing, and then the intoxicating loop of the song, which Disneyland aficionados, I'm sure, know by heart. Just love these little murals and stuff. Somebody got their hand out of the boat. You're not supposed to do that. Here we are getting ever closer. Oh, I guess... Sorry. We're not even on the boat yet. This is fine. Stick your hand out there. That's fine. The little Disneyland one. Mickey and Minnie. Welcome. At first I was a little worried because all of this stuff was like this type of art style, where it's like the kind of super flat, very stylized, which is neat. It's very kind of like modern. But I was worried the whole ride would be like that here at Disneyland, Tokyo Disneyland, versus the one in Disney World, which is all puppets and stuff, and has like a very old school, kind of old world feeling of marionettes and stuff. But no, it was the old puppets and stuff. So you go continent by continent, and just watch these singing and dancing dolls and listen to the music, and these big, super stylized things. It's great. It's so nice. The other thing that at first I was a little skeptical of was I was like, oh, it's Elsa and Snowman, name forgotten. And I was like, is this gonna be too loaded up with like modern Disney characters to try to give it a little more like relevance or whatever? I was worried that that would be like distracting and kind of overriding the original's charm. But no, they actually handled that really, really nicely. Like, as I said, I kind of went in a little skeptical. I had such fond memories of this place. Anything that seemed different, anything that seemed, ooh, like modernized, I was like, yeah, I don't know. But it was so great. Everything pulled off so well. Everything just so enchanting. And it's like, you know, you can see the ceiling and you can see the artifice of it all. You can see how everything is strung up. But that actually adds to the appeal because it's not just, you know, a fantasy. It's not that you're just believing that you're in this fantastical, magical space. But instead, you are just marveling at the love and heart that went into building this and just this wonderful artifice of so many people coming together to build this celebration of joy around the world. It's so nice. This is Cinderella, I suppose, and the Prince. Alice in Wonderland. And there's nothing crazy happening, you know, nothing too dramatic. The puppets kind of sway and dance, but they don't do, like, spectacular stunts. Of course, my mom made the drink the water joke from The Simpsons, where Lisa drinks the water on a parody of this ride and goes insane. Don't drink the water. Scotland area, there's the girl from Brave. Ireland. My mom is from an Irish family. I am too. That's how having a mom works. So we were excited to see Ireland. There's my arm. France, Gay Paris. All these, everywhere you look, there's just so much fun stuff. The Aristocats. You know, like I said before, I was worried that the Disney references would be, like, overbearing. But instead they were just, like, fun to spot and recognize and remember all those movies. Little Don Quixote scene happening here in Spain, tilting at windmills, the classic. Here's your Rapunzel. I don't even know what setting this is. Maybe, like, Holland or something, letting down her long hair. Some mariachi. I love that the music kind of twists and bends to reflect the themes of each culture you sail by. And again, you can say, oh, it's stereotyping, oh, it's so flat, such shallow representations, but, like, why would you say that? Come on. It's just so much love. You know, just the message is that around the world there is cause for celebration, and everybody celebrates in their own way and has their own cultures and dress and rituals and animals and fun. And what's wrong with that? I love these very Seussian looking goats on the hills. Here's an Indian place. I love this big elephant. Greece, you know, there's Hercules and his little Pegasus buddy. This is like getting into Asiatic cultures, Arabian stuff, and China. Go through tunnels to kind of separate the big continents. Again, just very clever, letting you see one thing at a time. And some Jungle Book stuff as we go through India. It's so nice. Japan, of course. From the Hinamatsuri, I don't remember what these are called. The dolls. Darumas and Windfish. It's so lovely. Egypt Zone. Some Lion King stuff in the Africa Zone. Big Hippo. Love this big hippo. Monkeys everywhere. It's so nice. Like these giraffes. Penguins. For Antarctica, of course. Mexico. There's the three cabaret. What's that movie called? The Three Caballeros. 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 All right. Nice little aside, you know? That's not like a super popular, cutting edge, the kids will recognize a movie. It's just a nice, solid Disney animated feature. There they are. Our boy Donald, of course. A crocodile in a South American area. I don't know who this guy is. He looks familiar, though. But I like this kind of simulated rain shower zone. Lilo and Stitch in Hawaii, of course. I think this is a video, because something's loading. Yeah. Very cute. Here's my Hello Kitty shirt that I was wearing. And this part, I don't know. I got really choked up. Specifically at this section. Which, I don't know if I took another picture of it. Yeah. Because it was like... I don't know, like... It really struck me how cute and precious these little animals with their moms are. Just... looking at the picture is enough to choke me up here. But it made me so happy that, you know, I was there with my mom and that we got to have this trip together. It was so nice. So yeah, I was like crying a little bit at this point. It's just so lovely. I really don't think the pictures do it justice alone. It's you gotta experience it. It's so cute. Although I will say this. Doesn't make any sense that they're not immediately right next to each other, but the Little Mermaid stuff and the Finding Nemo stuff, that can't be in the same world. Finding Nemo's in the real world, and Little Mermaid's in a fantasy world. I don't know. It's nice. And then at the end, this I found really moving too. I started choking up a bit. The big finale, where all of the world's cultures are there together, and all these little motifs and designs from all the different parts you've seen before are all together in this really fantastical, beautiful, glittering finale space. And the main theme of the song comes back in full force, and there's just wild things everywhere you look, all these flying contraptions and trapeze artists, and it's just this... That's something else that really gets me in just any media, is a big cumulative finale, you know? So moving. Anyways, here we are on the way out. And get some little farewell cards. Shiawase wa sekai o tsunaku. Happiness, shiawase, is like deep, meaningful... a contentment and happiness with life type happiness. It's one of my favorite words in Japan, shiawase. Around is being made around the world, basically. Very lovely. Mata aemashou. Come back again. I hope I do. Anyways, It's a Small World. I gotta shift gears. Got some water. We saw this restaurant here. Alice in Wonderland themed. Again, probably very cool inside, very themed, but it's one of the limiting factors. You can only eat so many meals, right? You only have so much time and money and appetite to spare, so you can't see all the restaurants. Then we decided to go to PhilharMagic, which is another one that I don't think is currently at Disney World, but we had seen at Disney World at trips past. It's a very fun, like, 4D video where you wear 3D glasses and they have a really cool 3D effects, which still gets people. We were sitting next to some younger kids and I still saw them reaching out, trying to grab stuff. Never gets old. Alongside, like, super surround sound. So thematically, they can make it sound like stuff is running around behind you and running all around you, which is really fun. And then I think it held some other kind of like 4D effects where there was like blasts of wind and stuff. Lots and lots of fun. Basically, the story is that they're trying to put on a big orchestra, but then Donald screws something up and is now transported to famous musical scenes in a variety of Disney movies. They do a really good job, I think, of having Donald comedically get messed up by the things happening in the original movie. There was like Fantasia, Aladdin, what else? Well, one that caught me off guard, because I couldn't really remember exactly how the movie was before, but it certainly had been updated since the last time I'd seen it, because there was like a scene of Coco, the Pixar movie from like 2017. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, nice variety of stuff. Oh, Little Mermaid. They had this whole big concert hall thing. So they just do showings. You show up and you wait for the previous one to finish, and then they fill in a new audience. There's quite a few of these at Disney World. They're a lot of fun. Definitely worth your time, I think, and also a good excuse to just kind of sit and rest for a bit. Oh yeah, Goofy was doing like a intro and welcoming us all, and hearing Goofy's Japanese voice was very amusing to me, so I was trying to record some of that. This was afterwards. We went to another gift shop. I really liked this tapestry they had in the back. Medieval era, Mickey and the gang. This was like a carousel. Disneyland especially is very good, I think, for including a lot of these very traditional carnival rides, which, like, we're not gonna go on. They're not super interesting or super unique, but, you know, it's like a typical kind of kids carnival experience, and I think it's really nice for little kids to have something that's actually a little less stimulating, and is just kind of like a standard good time. Usually these don't have very long lines either, so it's kind of a nice way to get the kid doing something pretty quickly. And it just, I don't know, it just feels like it ought to be there. Here we go, the main big castle, which is right in the center of everything. So we kind of did a big lap around the outside. And is that Captain Hook? Or is that just somebody wearing like a Captain Hook hat? I don't know. Anyways, this was our first kind of glimpse at the castle. As I said, we just had been doing the perimeter. Oh yeah, I think that was Captain Hook, because here's Smee. So before I was like, oh, all the characters, they just do kind of prescribed, scheduled meet and greets. So maybe they're on their way to or from one of those, but they're hanging out. They're taking some pics, I'm sure. It's good times. Ooh, I really like this shirt. Again, it's like, they're so expensive. And I'm sure I could get this shirt elsewhere. But I really like this design. I think it's so sweet and fun. The more confusing thing is, why is Chip and Dale here? Why are they the next most likely to get into the gang. But yeah, I don't know. It's very fun, very cute. I just love this kind of design for them. Little crowd shot. This is the entrance to the Haunted Mansion. I think that's the next ride we pursued. Again, another very traditional theme park ride. These flying Dumbos. Just a nice way to kind of incorporate some other Disney classic characters without it being like a huge deal. You know, as powerful and rich and as much space as Disney has, it's not infinite. They cannot make every ride a gigantic multi-sensory showstopper experience. And I think it creates a nice variety to have these more simple things. So yeah, we went to the Haunted Mansion next. Another Disney classic, another one of our favorites that we had very high on our hit list. Of course, now this ride has spawned a movie franchise, for better or worse. I think they have their fans. You know, it's like a goofy comedy horror thing, which is fun. But the ride, I think, has a very special place in the world. The theming, of course, as I said, is kind of goofy comedy horror. Starting with all these silly tombstones, no time off for good behavior, Chauncey, Xavier, they usually rhyme, you know. Brother Dave chased a bear into a cave, hee hee. Here you can see the mansion lurking in the distance. It's kind of neat, like, comparing the theming, compare-contrast of the visuals for... Sorry, I'm also having a little conversation about my friend got some new speakers and he's immediately listening to drone on them, which is very in character for him. Anyways, yeah, it's fun to compare and contrast the kind of horror theming of the Haunted Mansion with something like Tower of Terror. They're both very goofy in their own ways, but it kind of aims for like a different understanding of horror, I think. Where in the Haunted Mansion, the supernatural is immediately on display. It is the Haunted Mansion, you know? And right from the start, you're dealing with ghosts and ghoulies and zombies and mummies and skeletons and all that fun stuff. And it's presented as fun stuff. Whereas in the Tower of Terror, the supernatural is very oblique and uncertain, and there may be this transcendental element which is horrifying and will lead you to disaster and ruin. But it's just kind of lurking at the edges. And of course, this is reflected in all of the decor and all of the theming and every little thing leading up into the ride. And similarly, the Tower of Terror is a thrill ride, and it plunges you and you're freaked out. And the Haunted Mansion is like kind and gentle, and it's just a fun, silly time. I don't know, I just really enjoy that sort of contrast. Here we are, heading into the ride. Big eagle. Gargoyles. Here we are inside. Cobwebs and spookies and all sorts of stuff. They do a lot of like fun little tricks as you're waiting, like these portraits start following you with their eyes, and sometimes they look like a painting, but it's actually a very cleverly hidden TV or projector that will magically change before your eyes. Anyway, so we rode on that. Like I said, it's a pretty gentle ride. You're just in these very slow moving little carts that travel all around the Haunted Mansion, starting in like these castle grounds, and then you go inside, and it just has this wonderful sense of like celebration that a lot of the ghosts and stuff you're seeing are singing and dancing. I don't know. It's really lovely. It's a lot of fun. I'm not gonna start tearing up like I did with It's a Small World, but it's a joy. It's a hoot. It's a holler. It's all of the above. At the end is the famous trick, which maybe I shouldn't spoil, but I think it's very clever, and it's well done for such a low-tech thing, where your cart turns to face a mirror, and then they project onto the mirror a ghost so that it looks like the ghost is sitting in the car with you. Ooh, oh, it's so good. It's so silly. It's it's all stuff like that, you know? I think probably my favorite, I have such a vivid mental image of this, because I think every time I've ridden on this, it just stands out to me. The spot kind of near the end where they start projecting onto the ceiling these very fast-moving spirits just flying overhead. And it's like the song is playing, and everywhere you look are like dancing ghosts and ghouls and ghosts and goblins, and just seeing these ghosts fly over you super quickly. I don't know, it just has such a liveliness to it. I love it so much. Anyways, we came out of that, and there's a Peter Pan ride over here that we didn't end up riding. Another kind of kiddie ride, probably pretty similar to the Pinocchio ride that we did ride. I'm saying the word ride a lot. But this one had more of a line, so we didn't bother. This is heading into Frontierland. Frontierland and Adventureland kind of have this twin package of old West adventures. Big kind of open area here. You can see people setting up shop to have a bite to eat. We rode the Mark Twain Riverboat, which is one of the Adventureland attractions. It's nice because you can just kind of sit down. If you want, you can explore the whole riverboat, but there's nice benches. You can just kind of plop down and enjoy a little river cruise. You travel around the big island in Adventureland. You see all sorts of dioramas set up. Here it is, pulling into the station. Lots of waving. Always waving from the boat to the pier, from the pier to the boat. Like I said in the last video, waving feels nice. Waving and being waved to. It's lovely. So here we are, getting on the boat, departing. Oh, here's the little Western Railway we can see as well. Some shots of the rest of Frontierland and Adventureland. They had all these fake animals. And then, you know, as typical, there was narration the whole time, a tour guide on the speakers of the boat, telling you about what you're seeing, building a little narrative. Of course, it's meant to be in the era of Mark Twain. You know, all those lovely adventures, Huck Finn and Tom Sawyer. I think there's also a place called Tom Sawyer Island, which we've always called a place where you let your kids run around until they're less annoying. It's just like jungle, tree forts and stuff with climbing areas, and so we didn't do that, but it's neat. Here is some deer facing the wrong way, which kind of confused me, but it turns out, we found out later, they're facing the railway. They had these like Native American villages set up, teepees and stuff, which again you can say maybe a little offensive. I don't know. This sort of depiction, again, very like kind of shallow and stereotyping, but it's nice because you can it's coming from a spirit of like reverence and of this being an interesting educational thing for kids to learn about this other way of life. So I don't think you can say it's like flawless, but I liked how it was done. Just showing these villages, you know, preoccupied with their tasks and stuff. I like this little doggy coming to watch them fish. Oh yeah, there's little prairie dogs popping out. I wanted to get a picture of them coming out of their dens. Just cute little animatronics. I don't know. I love stuff like that. Here we are heading back around to the port. Little sparrow. We saw more and more people. It's like mealtime now, setting down shop to just kind of eat on the ground. This struck me as a very Japanese thing. I don't think you would ever see this in the States. Just the lack of aversion to sitting on the ground, being prepared to sit on the ground with like blankets and stuff. And then like the orderliness of just automatically forming these nice rows where you're largely out of the way. I just do not see happening in America. This was the Country Bear Theater. We didn't end up doing this because, A, it was going to be in Japanese, and we would miss all the jokes and banter and stuff. I don't think there's any way that whatever Japanese accent they came up with for all these hick bears, I would be able to understand for my life. But the Country Bear Jamboree is a lot of fun. It's just goofy animatronic bears singing country songs. But yeah, also the show times just didn't line up. It's one of the ones where throughout the day you can show up and get a seat for the next performance, but not something you can just kind of do on demand. Neat old general stores. Again, wouldn't it be fun if this sold like actual old canned goods and stuff? They had like a little bit of that, like you could buy like a Disneyland spaghetti sauce that was in a can, I think, stuff like that. But obviously, it's not gonna have the full array of a general store. I couldn't buy myself a kilo of sugar there. Why would I want to? Just to show that I could. I really liked, again, these themed vending machines. I thought these ones looked really awesome. Again, it's a shame. Why don't they have more selection? Why do they have to be like 3 times the price of vending machines outside of Disneyland? Because they're greedy, and because they get sponsorship deals for very particular drinks from very specific companies. Oh well. Neat little waterfall area. We're still kind of in this Adventureland zone. I think next we went to the Tiki Hut, the Enchanted Tiki Land. Yeah. So this is another super classic Disney attraction. We've been to the original a few times, where all of these little animatronic birds sing for you, and they raise and lower from the ceiling, and it's a lot of fun. And then to spruce it up, at some point, probably around when the movie came out, they added Stitch to this, which of course fits the kind of Hawaiian tropical feeling. And then it's now a plot of Stitch and the birds kind of having these... Stitch wants to be in the concert, and he's playing pranks and interfering because he doesn't have the courage to just ask to sing with them. So it all ends happy, you know. But it's fun. It was nice. And you can see all the theming. Stitch is lost. Oh no, who's going to show up? Oh, I didn't take a picture of it. I'm surprised. So actually, we found out when we were waiting for this, we figured, oh, it's going to be in Japanese, but who cares? We just love the Tiki Land. It's, you know, you can sit down. It's going to be songs and stuff. It'll be fun. But while we were waiting, one of the cast members came around and said, oh, do you want an interpreter? And I guess we probably could have been doing this for all of the shows, but nobody ever offered until now, and we'd kind of been avoiding ones that would require this because we didn't know it existed. But yeah, you get a little thing, and you can just read in English what all the dialogue is. So that was kind of nice, because again, my listening skills are okay, but for shows like this where all of the vocal performances are like super exaggerated, and it's a lot of like jokes and a lot of singing, which is hard to parse, I get lost pretty quickly. So it was very appreciated. The show is a lot of fun. I especially really liked the 4 main like parrots that are leading this whole concert. It's all Japanese voice acting, and I just felt like the way they were written and the voice actors they chose really like lined up with like anime tropes, which really both anime tropes and this harken back to more prevalent OG Japanese cultural tropes, obviously. But it was just kind of funny to like parse it like that, like, oh, that's the Ikemen parrot, you know, oh, that's kind of the Yankee parrot. Like, it was neat to kind of parse it like that. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Then we got on the railway, which it wasn't an actual people mover type ride. Like you just did a lap and got off where you got on. But it was a lot of fun. You got to see parts of the park again. I love these big palms. Bamboo as well. Little bamboo forest. Here's the deer that we saw from behind on the riverboat. More Aboriginal villages and stuff. See what the natives are up to. Another doggy. Gotta take a picture of the dog. So yeah, I don't know. It was nice. Saw some more deer. More prairie dogs. There's the riverboat we saw from the train. Waving to people. I've noticed in all the pictures and video I've taken of waving to people, it doesn't appear that people are waving back. So you just gotta trust me. People were waving back, okay? People wave to us just as much as we wave to them. It's just unfortunate. Here you can see another little activity that we didn't end up doing. Just combination of lines and laziness is little canoe paddle boat type things where you actually get to paddle. So that's neat. There it goes. What the hell was that? Huh. But who cares? Dinosaurs! So, in a truly baffling on one level choice, halfway through the train ride, you go into a mountain, and the narration is like, abnormalities detected, the train is experiencing weird energy fluxes or something, things like this. And then suddenly you're going past these dioramas of dinosaurs. And I don't know if it's like the train went back in time, or these are like ancient caverns where otherwise extinct beasts are dwelling. But it's neat, because I love a good dinosaur diorama and dinosaur animatronics and stuff. It's very cool. And it ends in an exciting conclusion where meteors are falling and stuff, and I think another diorama that we didn't take a picture of. I was just kind of like, well, that's weird to just suddenly throw this into a little train ride adventure. But my mom and I were both like, we've seen these before. Definitely we've seen these exact dioramas before in these dinosaur models. And we were trying to remember where. And what we remembered is this permanently closed now defunct ride that was called Ellen's Energy Adventures, starring Ellen DeGeneres and Bill Nye, where you would watch a variety of, like, you'd watch a video segment, and then the car would take you through different dioramas, and then you watch another video segment and stuff. And it was an adventure of going back in time, and you would go see... Look, we can check. These dinosaur dioramas. Well, this one... Maybe it's a little different. The painting in the background is definitely different. But I'm pretty sure it's like this ride shut down, and maybe there was a Japanese version of this ride that also shut down. And they just moved all the dinosaurs. Huh. Huh. Wow, that's an interesting story. They just reused the dinosaurs and they just put them in the middle of this train ride, which I think is so funny. Anyways, good times. Little riverboat. Yeah, next we did the Jungle Cruise. This is another very famous Disney ride that has been turned into a movie, I believe, starring The Rock, which is really all you need to know to accurately predict exactly what kind of movie that's going to be. Fun theming and stuff, very kind of silly parody adventure. I like these coconut bowling balls with bowling trophies and stuff. And the Jungle Cruise, I think, more than any ride, is all about the banter of the MC. That you get. Your tour guide is telling you all sorts of different jokes and riffing and doing crowd work and silly things. So we were kind of like, I don't know if we're going to understand any of that in Japanese. I did my best. I think it's easier to listen to somebody who's like talking to you as a group, like a human being live, than it is to listen to like a recording or whatever. Because you can kind of like see real time the communication factor. So there's all sorts of little things you're meant to do to participate, and silly things, you know, mimicking a elephant and stuff. So we were able to understand most of those. All of the boats were name of river and alliterative first name. There's one called the Amazon Annie that we really hoped we'd ride on because that's my mom's name is Amazon. No, just kidding. My mom's name is Anne. But we didn't. I think we rode the Wamba Wanda. We were on the boat. Nice little fruit, you know. So I say, oh, we took a picture of the fruit. Really, I wanted to get a picture of this guy's UGK shirt. That's so awesome. Why is this Japanese dad rocking the UGK shirt? I freaking love it. Shout outs to Texas hip hop. It will never die. Also, this lady's making a funny face. Elephant. So yeah, you just sail down the river and it's all animatronic animals that pop out and give you some fun. There's some nice little plot lines and scenarios happening. I really like this one where a campground is raided by apes and they steal guns and they simulate, you know, gunshots exploding. The apes are just kind of wildly shooting around your boat. A little Africa setting, of course, playing an excerpt of Lion King music. And these, we were like, we're gonna hopefully run into one of the other survey camps, and then of course they're in quite the predicament. I really like these hippos. Kaba. So I like knew the name of all these animals, right? Like my vocab is pretty good. There's our tour guide. He's very silly, very over the top. Really, really good at his job, but they all are. Like, we've ridden on so many of these MC rides over all our times at Disney World and now Disneyland. And they're always just so amazing. Like, they're just so, like, with it and making jokes and riffing with the audience members and giving such an energetic, over-the-top performance. It's like, how do they do it, man? Probably for not that much money either. Just love of the game. Anyways, so I knew like the names of all these like safari animals, and basically my goal was just to like listen and figure out what he was saying about each animal. Some cobras swaying around. You go into this kind of like temple area. So is the secret elephant watering hole. Whole bunch of elephants enjoying themselves. Yeah, it was really nice. I love the Jungle Cruise. It's so cheesy. It's so silly. You know, it's just a bunch of goofy fake animals, but man, I love it. It's the Jungle Cruise entrance area. All these nice palm trees. Like nice old ship as part of the setting. So now, at this point, we had almost done a full lap of the park, but we had one more critical ride in mind. Maybe the all-time favorite of both me and my mom. One that at Disney World, if there wasn't a long line, we would just ride over and over and over again. It is, of course, Pirates of the Caribbean. Probably the most famous Disney ride in terms of spawning, you know, a multi-billion-dollar film franchise. But the OG ride is what a blast. So we have this setting where it's all kind of like fancy privateers and British naval seamen, but then you turn the corner and suddenly you're in kind of pirate headquarters, and there's all these treasure maps and a general feeling of uneasiness and stuff. We didn't take any pictures on the ride. It's always ambiguous whether or not you're allowed to or you ought to take pictures on a ride. I just judged it based on what other people were doing. Sometimes it's really obvious and they just tell you, do not take out your phone, you're going to frickin' drop it, and then it's gone forever. But on the more slow-moving rides, like Pirates of the Caribbean, it's a little kind of a gray area. I don't know. But Pirates is really lovely. Just like It's a Small World, you're just on a boat, sailing around, looking at stuff. It's a little more thrilling than It's a Small World because there is a spot where you whoosh down a hill and some kind of spooky stuff where you go through a misty screen with something projected on it. Like I said, we've been riding this ride in Disney World for a long time now. Originally, it was just raw pirate theming, just generic pirate adventures and stuff, but as the movies became a giga hit, of course, now they have to incorporate Captain Jack Sparrow, you know, and a Johnny Depp sound-alike, delivering lines from the animatronic, and, I don't know, some other characters from the franchise that I don't even recognize. But it doesn't ruin the ride or anything. It's not too distracting, and the vast majority of it is still just fun animatronic pirate adventures. And it's just such a fun variety of scenes. It starts with these creepy deserted islands and the famous "Dead Men Tell No Tales" super old scratchy recording that plays on loop as you go through, and then you're kind of plunged down into this kind of pirate fantasy land where you're sailing through towns that are full of pirates celebrating and cheering, but then you see like the jail where the pirates are locked up, and it's the famous scene of trying to bait the dog over to deliver the key, and then the town is on fire, and it's just this kind of like chaotic but still kind of celebratory situation where everybody's running around and looting, and it's just chaos, and then a big ship battle that you're sailing right between two ships that are firing at each other, and oh, it's just so much fun. It's such a wonderful, just rip-roaring adventure, you know? And it feels weird to say that as your boat just slowly cruises through these dioramas, but oh man, you just get so caught up in it. Even just like the feeling of the coolness of this kind of dark, damp room, and the feeling of water flowing around you, and just this very unique smell and freshness of it is so evocative to me because I have so many memories bound up in this. It's like nothing else sailing away on this pirate adventure. I love it. Anyways, here we are leaving through again these kind of old fortified pirate castles. And now we're back in like that Main Street area that, you know, an hour ago I was introducing as the intro to the park. But as you can see, it is only 3 p.m. Our dinner rezo was at 7. We'd already knocked off all of the main rides we wanted to see. We had seen all the classics, you know, Space Mountain, Jungle Cruise, It's a Small World, Pirates. So we figured, all right, what's left to do? We did some shopping, checked out these places. This one I actually really liked, the Magic Shop, because it actually sold magic tricks. It had this huge wall of like legit little magic tricks and tools and how-to guides and stuff. And I was like, this is what I like. Of course, it makes perfect sense as like an impulse purchase for families, you know, a little souvenir for the kid. But it's actually something unique. It's something that wasn't in every shop. I really loved it. Yeah, here it is. We went inside. They had this lovely display out front. This was something very unique to Tokyo Disneyland. Disney Randoseru. If you don't know, the Randoseru is like the standard issue elementary school backpack. The idea is the kids get it in grade 1 and they use it all the way up until grade 6. So they're usually very high quality, leather, very well constructed, built to last type bags. And it's just this kind of like rite of passage to get your Randoseru and go through school using it every single day, and then, you know, eventually graduate from it, and it becomes this kind of memory of childhood, this artifact of childhood. So fittingly, it's a big deal for parents to get the Randoseru of their kids' dreams in terms of color scheme and decoration and stuff. And it's just a very well-designed bag. Last time I was in Japan, a friend of mine really wanted like an adult-sized Randoseru, and I tracked one down for him. And then I kind of wished I had gotten one myself, because they're just so neat. Just the way the big flap comes down, and all the different little storage compartments, and the nice boxy shape. It's good for books. Anyways, They're expensive as hell. The one I got for my friend was very, very steeply discounted at this bag store that's famous for offering like wholesale, like overstock type goods for super cheap. This is more typical a Randuseru price. Probably a little expensive because it's Disneyland, but yeah, you're typically expected to plop down close to $1,000 on your kid's Randuseru. Having kids ain't cheap. So it was kind of neat to see, you know, this was definitely some unique merchandise. Here again, we're in this main square. The Grand Emporium was probably the largest gift shop. You can see it runs all the way back here. We checked that out. But again, it was mostly the same stuff as other stores. Here's the castle. Ah, these are like the famous mouse ear hats. I had one of these as a kid. Obviously, it does not fit me anymore. My boyfriend's mom was wondering, are we getting the ears? Are we doing the ears? Because that used to be like the traditional Disneyland souvenir. Because they used to be really cheap. Like cheap enough that they kind of just hoped everybody would buy a pair. And I'm sure when I got these as a kid, they were pretty cheap. Now they're 24 bucks. For like the cheapest set of ears, and all the headband ears were even more expensive. What a shame. Everything's got to be the absolute maximum price that people will pay. They cannot for a second tolerate the idea that somebody might get a bargain at Disneyland. There's the castle again in the distance. This was really cool. An old school penny arcade. Cost a little more than a penny, but still very neat to have all of these pre-video game arcade games. You know, this baseball game is very cool. It's kind of like Monkey Baseball from Super Monkey Ball if you've played that before. The hockey one. So these are like all like American type games that I think are not recreations, but literally like from the 30s and stuff. So I think it's really cool that they set this up here in Japan. Of course, with some other more modern themed games, like a little UFO catcher here. This golf one, I'd never seen anything like this before. I thought this was really cool. We didn't end up playing any of these games, I think, because we were light on change and also, you know, had stuff to do. Old fortune-telling machine. Oh, I thought these were really cute. Winnie the Pooh Madelines. I actually was very close to getting these. Just because I love the packaging, and who doesn't love a good Madeline, but so expensive. Can get cookies anywhere. This was a little spot we stopped to have a snack, getting a little hungry. Hadn't eaten since like 10 a.m., makes sense. You can see the castle in the distance, very pretty place to rest. I got this cheese hot dog. I didn't take a picture of it before I used it, but I really loved this thing. It was like mustard and ketchup in one package, and you just like cracked it, and it opened up a little stream that you could pour on both at once. Very clever design. Unfortunately, I did not understand how it worked before I used it, and it splurted and made a little mess. Here's like the main plaza area, one of the most famous photo ops in the whole park. One of the most famous photo ops in the whole world, really. Just the statue of Walt and Mickey with the castle in the background. You know, again, Walt Disney, pretty evil guy. Disney as a whole, pretty evil company. But the vision of Disneyland as just this wholly unique, enchanted area is just so well realized. Now, if you read Walt Disney's actual plans for Walt Disney World and all of the crazy stuff he thought it would eventually evolve to be, maybe sounds a little evil again. But it is stirring, I think. It is really beautiful and inspirational to just kind of remember that just from entertainment, just from cartoons, from just the belovedness of this mouse, such an immense empire was born with such ambitions as to build this one-of-a-kind place that eventually became like an eight-of-a-kind place, the Disney parks. It's pretty amazing. So here's the guys. You can see a lot of people getting their pictures, very professional photography being done. wedding photos being done here. Here we are. Gotta take a little selfie. So none of these really turned out that well. I don't know. They're fine. The important thing is the memories. We decided to ride this little bus thing that just does a loop of the central area. So the way Disneyland is laid out is it's like a hub with spokes. This is the central plaza, and then each of like Tomorrowland, Adventureland, Frontierland, Fantasyland. There's one more, I think, are laid out as spokes of this big hub. So this little thing takes you around and shows you the entrance to each of the individual lands and tells you about them. I like that they have ads for actual stores and restaurants. This restaurant Hokusai I was kind of curious about because it's like traditional Japanese washoku, and it both had seemed once like kind of an ideal spot to try to get some washoku, as it's like, you know, they want to make it like the real touristy experience. Hey, you want a traditional Japanese meal? Here it is, you know, very down the middle. But at the same time, it seemed like such a ridiculous place to get traditional Japanese food while we're in Japan. So we didn't end up going there. It's also, you know, very expensive. But, you know, it's neat. Something, of course, you would expect. More ads for rides and stuff. Country Bear Jamboree. We didn't go on Splash Mountain. It was like a little tempting because... So the original Splash Mountain theme is around this cartoon called The Song of the South, which is basically just like cartoon animal minstrel show in terms of the sort of stereotypes and stuff. It all dates back to things like Briar Rabbit, which are really traditional kind of like slave mythos and stuff. And I don't know, it's a very long and complicated conversation you can have around what is representation versus what is appropriation. Are you a colleague or a colonizer, to quote Kendrick? But basically, the kind of cultural consent is we are moving on from Song of the South. Disney does not like to acknowledge it or use it for anything anymore, which is, it is what it is. But, so in Disney World and in California Disneyland, and I think in all the other Disneylands, Splash Mountain is no longer Song of the South themed. But here in Tokyo Disneyland, you can still see the OG Splash Mountain and see all the Song of the South characters and stuff. So it was like, that might have been neat, you know, it's something we can't do anywhere else. The other aspect of Splash Mountain is you get wet. The titular splash, indeed, kind of soaks you at the end. And we were like, I don't want to do that. I'm going to have to wait in line, you know. But all these other ones, obviously, we took advantage of. Oh, besides the Country Bear Theater. These are all classics. I just love the designs and themings of these. There's a little shot of the spot where they're driving the thing. Some shots from within it. Inside, there's these nice old stills of scenes from different areas of the park. They had a real old school, like, 70s vibe. Oh, we could see all these banners about Donald's Quack City as we drove around. I thought they were really fun. They're all super self-serving, you know, Donald is very egotistical. Donald is the most macho duck. Donald is the best artist. See the castle from here. Shot of the entrance. Even the little manholes were done up in Disney Powellpalooza, Donald's Quackity Duck City. So I don't know. I don't know how long this is going to last, the Donald theming. If it'll go back to Mickey. If Goofy will get a chance. Who knows? Little guard tower thing. Is the bus going by. Castle. Castle. So we decided to walk up through the castle. And we figured our final mission before our reservation would be, well, I guess you'll see. This is the interior of the castle. Maybe I didn't take any pictures, but there's a store in here that is also a fairly unique store. Like I said, 90% of the stores, very generic, same stuff in every one. But then a few of them were very unique in what they sold and like the experience. So the one in here is like super super fancy. It's all like crystalware and super like souvenir for very bougie people. You can get like a crystal castle, not the noise band. I don't know. It was neat. I wish I'd take some pictures in there, but whatever. This is from Peter Pan? No. Pinocchio? Fox and the Hound? Who are these guys? They look so familiar. So yeah, we decided for our final kind of major ride event. We had actually gone all day without any crazy waits. Probably the biggest one was Haunted Mansion. So we decided, let's take the plunge and ride the Beauty and the Beast ride, which was so hyped. Statue of Gaston, the Tavern of Gaston. What a fun character. I think one of the most crazy, fun Disney characters ever. I like this little basket of grapes. So yes, we decided to ride the much-hyped Enchanted Tale of Beauty and the Beast. Which we had read, you know, the description of. It said, ride on magical enchanted teacups and relive the memories of Beauty and the Beast. And we were like, oh, okay, I don't know, that sounds fine. It was honestly a big mystery as to why everybody was so pumped on this, why it had consistently the longest lines of anything in the park. So we waited in line for probably 2 hours for this one, in and out of the rain. We certainly weren't sure if it was going to be worth it, but what else, you know, we had time to kill, and we had to see what the hype was about. We start moving in through the castle. Sorry, just replying to messages quick too. Nice decor, you know, lots of stuff to see. I love these old tapestries. You can tell a lot of love was put into those. I don't know if they actually are just replicas of real old tapestries or what, but it had a really nice feel. Very stately, some old still lives. And then you start seeing the Beauty and the Beast gang, all the enchanted animate teacups and stuff. This painting I know is famous. I cannot think of who did it, but I've seen, I think, the actual painting that this is a replica of, but again, just nice stuff to look at. This one, of course, is very famous. Lady on a Swing by, can't remember, Romance era painter. Not coming to mind, but whatever. All these nice suits of armor, moving through the halls. It's nice to relive these as photos and just get a nice summarized 5-minute version of this ride experience that took us... Okay, well, let's see. This is 5:25. And this is like right when we started lining up. Oh, so actually it's not that bad. This is 25 minutes. Psh, whatever. But yeah. At the time, it was like a lot of, this better be good. Probably a lot of bickering. I probably read a lot of manga on my phone. I think I was reading Kill Blue at this time. Can't remember, whatever. Getting funneled in through area after area. Here you watch a little setup for the premise of the movie, in case you didn't know. The Beast being the prince that was cursed. So that's kind of nice. Breaks up the waiting. We thought, hey, we're almost going to get on, but not yet. You can see the rows. Again, we were like, oh, this must be close to the end. You'll see. But at least, you know, we start to feel like we're really getting into the movie. These are areas from, you know, when she's learning the ropes of how the castle works and cooking and stuff, and the galleries and stuff. I really like these little shadow performances. There's Miss Teapot and Chip. I don't remember their names. I'm pretty sure Chip is the cup. So here it's 5:30. That's actually not that bad. I thought it was way worse. For some reason, I thought we were on this line for like 2 hours. But here we are. We're approaching the teacups, which I think, you know, obviously it's very themed, but people have a very strong mental association between teacup and the spinning teacup ride, which is like a carnival staple. So I was already surprised to see that there are these big 8-person hosting things. And then they move around kind of like little Roombas. They can move in any direction. And then most remarkably, this is when we stop taking photos, so I'll explain it from here. They sway. They're on hydraulics. So they don't just move, but they kind of gallivant you around. And they do so in time with the music. So it really feels like you are like dancing on these teacups and doing this big coordinated ballet among all these different teacups simultaneously, where you're being twirled around and you look at different things. And then it just has like the most modern top of the line animatronics that you see all the characters dancing with such fluidity that it really does kind of screw with your brain. And it's hard to picture them as just animatronics. It really feels like they're alive, and this is done through a mixture of just really advanced, I think, motion within these things, but then also tricks of projection that it looks like their faces are really living cartoons, and just a nice variety where first you're seeing like a diorama, and then you're getting whirled around to look at a video on a projector, and then, you know, right when the novelty of that kind of leaves you, you're twirled back to the diorama, and since you've last seen it, a whole bunch of stuff has moved, which probably if you watched it move would look kind of inelegant, but because it just seems to magically change before your eyes, it really gives the sense that everything is alive. And then, you know, you're taken through all the pivotal scenes of the movie, and you get the be my guest, be my guest, and then, oh no, they're coming to raid and kill Beast, and then the lovely, wonderful 11th hour transformation where Beast becomes a human, which was achieved through an effect that I still don't understand, because it shows the Beast animatronic, and then all these sorts of effects are being projected onto it, and then it's the human prince animatronic. And they're both definitely physically there, and I actually don't know how they did it. I was so shocked by that scene. I did not know how that illusion was achieved. And then this really lovely final dance in the big ballroom, and Belle and the prince are dancing in the middle, and all the humanified aspects of the house are there, dancing and singing. And again, it brought tears to my eyes. Not that I have such a strong affection for this movie. I probably saw it like once or twice as a kid. I'm sure it's very well done, and I'm sure I would still love it today. But it's not like my favorite or anything. It's just that the ride was so good. It just felt so modern and so well thought out and so moving and full of illusions and just little things that you might think are like gimmicky or inconsequential, like the swaying with the music, really just made it so enchanting. I was very impressed. My mom was very impressed. We agreed that it was worth the wait in line. Really good stuff. And it really felt like, this is a Disney ride from the future. As sour as I am around a lot of the business decisions, and as much as I worry that a lot of the really magical aspects of the park are going to be gutted if they don't lead to people spending more money directly, which is such a huge shame, I think there's one aspect where they're still just killing it, and I have utmost faith, and that's in the ride designs. Because at the end of the day, that's what people are here for, And if those aren't amazing, then what's the point? And this to me was like a perfect example of a very modern ride that they couldn't have done before, that employs all this cutting edge technology in the service of such a grand, fun illusion. And it really made me curious, like, what's next? What other stuff do they have cooking? What new recent rides do I not even know about that are fantastic? So that was great. That was a great, great feeling. Anyways, we got out. It was about 6 o'clock. We had an hour to kill before our reservation, but we were feeling pretty tired, so we maneuvered our way back to where our restaurant was going to be. I really like this Fountain of the Duck. And we just kind of chilled out for a bit. There was supposed to be a parade, and we were kind of hoping to see the parade, but the weather was crap, and the parade ultimately was canceled. They did substitute it with a different parade, which is a little more rainproof, and we ended up watching some of that through the restaurant windows, but alas. There's also, of course, nightly fireworks at all the Disney parks, which are pretty phenomenal. We've watched them in Disney World before. But you gotta stay pretty late, you know, it's gotta be totally dark and stuff. And again, because the weather was so temperamental, we were like, they're probably gonna cancel the fireworks anyway, so we didn't stay for those. But there is quite a magical feeling of watching dusk settle onto the Disney parks, seeing how everything gets lit up, and it just kind of feels like a different world of enchantment is now cloaking the first. At any rate, this was the restaurant that we were going to be dining at. It was a buffet. We chose this one because it was a buffet, and we thought that would be a really fun experience. You can see, again, full EGL type setup here. I took a picture of this for my boyfriend who loves tartar sauce. I was like, check it out. All the fried shrimp and tartar sauce you could want. It was a really interesting mix of Western stuff and Japanese stuff. This was my first plate. A little beef patty, some karage, some ebi fry, some sushi rolls. Definitely, again, very middle of the road. Here, great Japanese staples, rice and curry. But it was really fun to just have this at an all-you-can-eat buffet and build up such a selection of different things. Got more karage, more ebi fry, some curry, some mapo tofu. The mapo tofu was actually really nice. I expected, again, since they're going middle of the road, it wouldn't be spicy. But I mean, they definitely get a lot of Chinese tourists. And a Chinese person wants spicy mapo tofu. So it was actually very nice and spicy, which surprised me. Here's a picture of the parade going by. It did look pretty neat, but, you know, this was when our seating was, so obviously we had to go eat. But it was nice to be able to see it through the window at least. Here's another selection of dishes. It was kind of like the sushi, the conveyor belt sushi, where I had really tried to eat strategically all day to be able to maximize our money at the all-you-can-eat buffet. And I felt a real genuine dismay. I'm rhyming. When my stomach started hitting its limit. But they had a lot of really tasty stuff. I was impressed. You know, again, a pretty wide variety of dishes. I loaded up on all sorts of stuff. This was duck with like a jelly, which I really liked. I wish I gotten more of that. This was just looks like a teeny tiny amount of rice salad. I started trying to be very strategic about what I got because I could feel myself getting full. This was like a basil pesto pasta salad. This was broccoli and shrimp. This is another fried shrimp and mayonnaise. This is some sort of chicken thing, some sort of croquettes. More of these because I love them. But I was really hitting my limit. I was drinking a lot of orange juice because for some reason I feel like drinking orange juice lets me eat more. Like the acidity kind of cuts through stuff and I feel like I have more room. But that is in fact an illusion and I should break myself of it because it was limiting my actual eating ability. But I got some desserts too. This was a neat little passion fruit jelly thing and a mousse with a white chocolate Mickey thing that I strategically ate the fingers so it was flipping you off. And I went, look. And my mom went, don't do that. Very silly. But yeah, really nice meal. Lots of fun. Got to try big variety of things. And then we headed out back to the hotel. It was really cool to see this Main Street section all lit up like this. There's the castle in the distance, looking eerie but magical. Just lovely. I don't know. It was nice that we got to see the park at night for a little bit, even though at this point I was so bloated and we were so wiped out. And we went back to the hotel. And now it is a new day. So we will pick up on this in the next video. I hope you enjoyed. Very atypical from any other Japanese vacation I'd taken, this tour into Disneyland. Much more similar to a vacation in Florida, right? So really, really lovely opportunity to do this. I was so glad we did. I love Disneyland. Again, caveat, disclaimer, context, blah, 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 blah. I've said it 18 times now, but man, the parks themselves, truly, truly magical. Okay, that's all for now. See you in the next one.